Hey everybody, and welcome to another RCT2 review. Today we're taking the time machine back a full 12 years to 2009 to look at Zippo's Wacky World of Wonders by Xophe. This was a classic, an instant classic when it was first released, and is still regarded as one of the better full-size RCT2 parks. It certainly aged in some areas, at least from what I recall. It's been a little while since I've looked at this park, but I thought this was a good one to take and do one of our reviews from. So let's jump in and take a look at this from Alton Towers inspired park with this kind of fully custom theme. So we start here at our entrance. First thing we notice is it's a little small. The little 5 height here is not necessarily the size that I think you really want to go for a grand entrance. But what I do like is the use of the skeleton here, the in-game stock piece. I think that's kind of a fun entry feature for this plaza. As you come in, it's pretty understated. There's not a whole lot of detail in the architecture. A little bit of diagonals, a couple towers, flags, things like that, but not too much going on. We do get this nice view across the lake to our shuttle loop here. So this is Zippo's shuttle loop. So just a standard sort of Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. Kind of makes sense being towards the front of the park. You figure that's one of the older rides, perhaps. And I really like this this little eatery out over the lake, which kind of offers some nice views of the coaster and the paddle boats and things like that. So as we go this way, we hit our first area. So this is the medieval realm as we jump across, and we have some early hacking. So we've got our little swing ride here, and next to it we have our log flume. This is Ye Old Cascade, done with the spiral station here. Granted, with the straight sections, this was before Open RCT, so making things invisible and all that kind of stuff was pretty tough. So that's why you're going to see a lot of things that look maybe a little bit amateurish when compared to modern day stuff, but nonetheless is still pretty impressive at the time. Kind of liking these sort of more Tudor-esque structures here, and I do like the way this log flume winds its way through this kind of thick forest. Really no straight sections on there, which I kind of prefer when doing flumes. Probably the one critique I would have on this one is the run out after the drop is awfully small, so you're cruising into that curve a little quick, maybe a little quicker than you try and want to be. So on the other side here, we've got a cable car, the sky ride that goes all the way over to the other end here and skips a few areas, but we'll pick that up a little later. Okay, so here we have the Peasants' Revolt, which, judging by the trains, I'm kind of expecting is considered a GCI wooden coaster. So we have this sort of Ozark Wildcat-esque first drop with the full spiral here. I do like the little flames on the lift hill there. Couple turnarounds and things like that. This little speed hill right here. Couple more spirals, and then this kind of out and back section through this building, which is pretty cool, and then these two tunnels here. We have our flaming building here, so we have some theme carried in there with the Peasants' Revolt. Clearly they are revolting, as in this torched building shows. And then this final drop and kind of dive through the little building here as it comes back up into the brake run. Little transfer track there as well. Not too bad. It's not necessarily a GCI layout per se, but it's got some nice flow to it, and it turns out that it looks all right. So as we continue along, if we look on kind of the backside of where the shuttle loop was, we get to our, we'll call this sort of a kids area maybe. There's sort of a couple different things here. So first of all, we've got Z's Crazy Caterpillar Coaster, with our K's there. A little junior coaster here that comes up and around. Probably could do without the helix there, but I actually kind of like this layout. It feels sort of old school as far as just a lot of little hills, a couple turns. You got this nice underground tunnel, so that's kind of nice. So this is, if we go down and look at this, this is Zippo's Fabulous Farm, All loving our alliteration here. So a couple of little habitats here, as you can see. So this one says, "Do not feed the animals." This one says, "The elephant will consume guests." So lots of kind of fun stuff here. And this is the "Please close the gate." You know, a little petting zoo, dolphin statue. Um, this is the little kind of pet show, we'll assume, some kind of thing there. And then our slimy snail theater. Like the use of the 3D cinema here with the snail, kind of fun. And then also here we have Zippo's Ponies of Doom, which have to wonder why they are Ponies of Doom. They seem to be doing all right. So actually, kind of a fun little feature here, just in the middle, and actually, it says a little bit perhaps of park building over time. So a little bit of thought about how the park might have expanded over the years, where this sort of petting zoo takes kind of almost prominence here in the front, before you get back to other things, as we'll find. There's sort of a garden area here behind that, but we'll cross that in a little bit. First, let's get over to our Chinese area here. We've got this sort of forbidden temple type architecture here. Kind of reminds me of some Port Aventura going on. Love this gate down here. This one's really nice. And actually decent architecture throughout this whole space here. So here's a boarding for Zippo's rail. So this is the train that runs around the whole space. We also have a monorail that runs just around the Chinese area. So this is the Zippo's Oriental rail, which is clever. Certainly, the name's not leaving anything to chance there. There's some pretty funny ones. I do like this little Great Wall here on the backside that the monorail goes up and over. A couple little hills here just to give it some more interest. Let's pick up the wooden coaster here. So this is Huangdi, and we have a unique layout, I would say. Drop in the corner here, and our first inversion actually is kind of a little ways on into the ride. So we have a 0G roll here into an Immelman. If we dive under this pathway up to our mid-course brakes, off of the mid-course brakes into a vertical loop, another corner here, and then this corkscrew over the entrance path, which always a nice feature. This diagonal queue is pretty cool. And then a final dive up and under and into the brakes. Really nice scenic queue walking through this whole space. Good gardens. I love the waterfall. Oh, that's very nice. Using some of these old school flat rides, some of the old Amazing Earl rides. Certainly were one of those ubiquitous things that I think everybody did. I love the remote boats here. So radio controlled boats, you can see the controls here, and also the little colored icons here for which one controlled which. So that's a pretty nice detail there. And then a couple of the standard in-game Oriental theme different scenery pieces looking nice. Some of the cherry blossom trees, a couple other kind of colored landscaping just to give it a little bit of texture. I actually do like his landscaping in general. I think he does a very nice job at it. It's thick in some spots, thinner in others, but there's a real nice transition out of the forested area to sort of the grassy area. In some cases, some nice manicured fences. We've got the mushrooms and bushes and other little things like that. So it transitions in and out of these spaces really, really well, which I appreciate, and is not something that's always super easy to do. All right, so as we continue along, we'll come out of our Chinese area here and down to this garden space. So this is where you have a little bit of that Alton Towers inspiration, where there's sort of this valley garden through the center of the park. This, as I recall, was one of the first uses that I remember seeing of the side friction coasters being used as a curved kind of flower bed / pathway kind of boundary. I honestly thought it looked really good. Nowadays, there's a lot better objects for this and kind of a lot better ways to execute this whole thing. But I remember being very impressed at the time with how this was put together. Done quite well. This is kind of interesting for having just the standard in-game stalls, and you've seen a couple of them around. So we have like the fries stall here. Here's the information about the Great Zippo, which is funny, um, through that space. And then at the far end here, we also have a hedge maze, so the labyrinth, and then a really nice aqueduct for the train over here as well. Love these arches and just that kind of detailing on the brick. That's really well done. And as we come out on the other side, there's a couple of nice features here. We've got this nice kind of archway of bushes. Over here, we've got this little grotto underneath the sort of upper raised area, and then a couple other little spaces here using the uh, bobsled coaster as our kind of bounding feature there. But on the whole, just really nice gardens in general. Some very manicured sections, some more wild sections, just done really well. I like seeing good landscaping in this game, and this, I would say, is quite nice. Here's the Scottish area, which we'll get to in just a minute. We're going to continue on around the outside here as we work our way through the medieval area. So this is still the medieval area through this whole space. Over here we have a boomerang, sort of a mini version of the boomerang here with a little short train. So certainly make it compact, a little less realism there, but it fits in a small space and kind of works nicely. A couple game stalls here, Ferris wheel, and then more of this kind of Tudor-esque architecture throughout the whole space. And then we sort of transition out of that medieval area as we cross the train tracks here and the train station. Over on this side, we have the Ye Olde Jousting Tournament, which sort of, I think, kind of marks the boundary of that space. And really, you can kind of look at this as the transition point between the pathways. So using the crazy paving, I suppose it is, in the medieval area. Then we have the kind of tarmac over here in the Scottish area, and then the dirt, if you call it dirt, over here in the in this area. So here is the Kabulapo Canyon. Here's as we here actually this one. This is the Kambampo Canyon. This is another fun name to say. This is where the landing point is for our sky ride over on this side. And here's a nice big coaster that we'll pick up on this side. This is Cannibal. Awfully bright and cheery colors for Cannibal. But as you go through the queue, you'll see the bones that you have to walk through, which is kind of cool. And then a couple of little cooking areas here, tents, and then some more bones. So a little ominous as you get going through. Nice drop into a large loop and into a dive loop. Nice to see this dive loop versus the Immelman on the invert. Always nice to offer a variety there, I think. Just kind of opposites. Love this curve into the mid-course brake run through the loop. That's really nice. Not using the actual block brake pieces there, which is totally fine. Keeps us speeding up. Actually, maybe it's a little bit too fast in the second half, but this sort of over-under on the bridge is kind of neat. Seeing how that works as we pull into the station here and finishing that lap. Also in this area, we've got our Rapids ride, which is pretty substantial, actually. Another curve station. I really like the track texture for this one. Nice big queue, too, wrapping all the way around over top and kind of around the whole thing. So this is Zippo Zambezi River Adventure as we kind of go down through this whole water section. So a couple ruins here, little overgrown sections, lots of little waterfalls. I like kind of the diagonal bits here. I like that it takes the boat kind of into the waterfall itself. Here's kind of this cave that we're going to cruise underneath of through the wooden or the steel coaster supports here, dropping down to this pretty darn cool waterfall canyon as you run through. So ensured to get wet through that section, and then cruising out into this final drop underneath of a pretty nice bridge here with the kind of supports added in there, and then a big lift up and back to the main space. Pretty expansive one. If we look at this, it is a pretty long ride here, 6 minutes 3 seconds. On the longer end for a Rapids ride, I'd say. Definitely probably lacking some of the details you would see these days on a Rapids ride. So like little barrels to keep the things moving in the right direction or guardrails, things like that. But I like the sort of adventure style ride as it goes through the whole space. That is cruising up that lift. Well, I didn't even notice that. Wow, that was fast moving there. Simple architecture in this area, so I guess meant to be somewhat of an African theme, just judging by how fast is this? 8 miles an hour. That's funny. Um, but judging by the colors and the overgrown landscaping, things like that, I'm kind of assuming some more jungle-ish, maybe African-ish area. Not really seeing a whole lot of that in the architecture style itself, but nice, simple, kind of safe architecture. We'll turn and see this other aqueduct here for the train and also the tunnel on this backside. Really beautiful bridge. Some of the best parts of this map, in my opinion, those two bridges for the train. And some fields here, a little bit of context on the backside. Always good to have a little bit of context. We did entirely cruise by the hotel over here on this side using the side friction again for the flower beds. Pretty understated hotel, not a whole lot of detail here to see. Maybe a little bit drab, perhaps, but included, and certainly has some play areas, things like that. And I would assume it has its own entrance into the park, although I don't quite see it. But at least you can stay on property, so that's a bonus. Let's jump back here and get into the Scottish area. So there were those two entrances to the Scottish area from the garden space, and then we have one from the medieval area, and then another from up here. This is one of the better areas of the park, and one of the ones that I think has still held up pretty well comparatively to the rest. So first of all, here you've got the old golf course, so maybe St. Andrews perhaps. Miniature golf on the side here, which is quite nice. Here's the Haggis Hunt, which is a Gerstlauer bobsled coaster, which I absolutely love. I think this is done really, really well. Now we have more custom trains and things to work with, but honestly, the execution has not gotten a whole lot different from how this was a full 12 years ago. Make the scenery invisible, and you can see the trains here. Using more continuous circuit type mode, so we don't have to worry so much about block breaks slowing it down, which is honestly totally fine for this sort of thing, as long as you space it out just right so it doesn't look like there's multiple trains on a block. But great layout in general. I think this one's done really, really well, and maybe one of my favorite coasters in the park, despite being its kind of small size. Really nice architecture throughout. Claustrophobic in a couple of spots, but that's not too bad. In here we have Old Edinburgh Ghost Tour, which is a pretty huge dark ride through this whole space. We have a nice little cutaway here too as we look through the various different areas here. Let's actually see, because I don't know if we can see the whole thing. See if he's actually built that up. This was before time of cutaway view. Okay, so not fully completed, just the sections you could see underneath, but some pretty cool stuff. Little graveyard here, this big creature. We have sort of interior space that looks a little creepy, and then this back alley perhaps through this whole area there. But get rid of this, and fits very nicely through the whole thing. A dock in here, awfully kind of beefy, I suppose, as far as structure goes. Offsets a little bit compared to the rest of the kind of smaller architecture, but it does nicely. It would be cool to see a boat in there or something, perhaps. But all sorts of little details like Zippo's fish bar sign. Here we have the drunken barrels. Here we have the gift shop. All sorts of nice little details here. And as we kind of wrap up in this space, we transition into our last area. So this is the Grimy Glen, which I think is fun, just all the alliteration that we've had through the whole thing. So first thing we come up with is the Freefall Tower. This is an Intamin first-gen Freefall. A nice little hack here to make this one work. This was sort of a trend at the time, I think, starting all the way back at Six Flags Worlds of Excitement, which we reviewed a little while ago on the channel. Another great theater space, ski show. Pretty nice, scenic with the pipes and the gears and all that sort of stuff, and the industrial feel to the whole thing. And as we continue on, we have a couple cool details here. So this is the Zippo sewage works, which is super unpleasant when you think about it, with the brown water and all that on the water slide. But kind of neat. I think rarely do we see a whole lot of themed rides that are kind of non-standard, and I can't really remember other times when I've seen a themed water slide. So pretty fun as far as that goes. I really love this open closed section here. I like the curve here with the two enclosed pipes up and above. We get rid of this, we can see what's going on. It's actually a pretty substantial area, and actually some of the pipes that are enclosed are still used. So this top one here on this side is used for the lift hill, and then we have another pass through on this side. But you can see the station on the back side here with the train depot kind of on the back side here as well. But as we continue on, a couple more flat rides. We've got a standard scrambler ride. This is a centrifuge. We've got the Zippo's fallout pods, which have the spray coming down over top, which is kind of fun. And also our reactor core theater. And then two drop towers on this side. So this is pylon plunge, and they're both pylon plunge. So nice to have those two in this section. I do like this entrance with the quarter flat roof tile option or scenery piece. And actually this entrance here is very cool, with the sign here, the stack with the smoke coming out, and then immediately you get to the two pipes here. So Zippo's pipes, the bubbling goo in the brown, just all sorts of industrial sort of wasteland type look, and then the steps up and into the space. So really nice theming throughout the whole space, and kind of like how it's carried through the whole thing. Now finally, our last coaster here. This is Meltdown. This is an Intamin accelerator coaster, which is maybe my other favorite coaster after the Intamin bobsled, or the Gerstlauer bobsled coaster. Nice use of terrain here. We have some lower sections over on this side from our launch and top hat. Really nice flowy layout here through the whole space. I always thought Xophe was pretty great at roller coasters in general. And to be honest, he was one of my inspirations initially for RCT as I started playing. So certainly enjoying going back through this sort of work. But that is our last coaster here. Nice little transfer track and maintenance area here. Again, a cool themed queue. I like how this one goes up and through the station here, then back down through the goo, and then back into the station. So you get a little taste of it as you go through the first space before you actually get into the whole thing. But if we zoom out, we can kind of see the whole of the park here. Pretty substantially sized park. Nicely themed throughout. I think you could see as we were going through, there were some areas that held up better than others. But on the whole, I think it still is a pretty strong park. It certainly comes up on quite a few most influential RCT parks lists. And for anyone who's been around for 15 and 10, 15 years in this game, you probably remember this one pretty well. And generally everybody's got an opinion on it. There's really very few who have a kind of indifference to it. It's either you love it or you're less of a fan. But I think in my opinion, I'm a pretty big fan of this park. Coasters especially, I think they were done reasonably well throughout the whole thing. Scenery hit or miss depending on which area you get to. I do think the sewage area probably the best put together and some of the cleverest. Scottish area as well, done really well. And I do love this garden space in the middle. Garden space is really, really well done through the whole thing. But certainly encourage you to download this for yourself. Feel free to get this on the link below. So if you look in the description, you can find the link to download and check this out for yourself. And that's all for today. If you have any suggestions for parks you would like to see reviewed, feel free to let me know in the comments or join our Discord channel and post it there. So until next time, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye now.